Hello everybody, how are you doing? It's Amanda. Today is Good Friday. It's the 10th of April 2020. Here we all are. And it feels a very sacred day. I always think Good Friday is a very sacred day. I always, in the past, used to get more pull to go to church on Good Friday than I did on any other day of the year. And as I said in yesterday's video, I think part of it was the poignancy of the day, the emotion of the day, the beauty of the day in many ways. And Good Friday effectively really commemorates what is a blood sacrifice. And I feel as though what Christ is wanting for us to concentrate on today is where we sacrifice ourselves. Okay, where we sacrifice ourselves. So what are the behaviours or the places that we find ourselves in, which we know basically are not our truth? And it's gone beyond compromise to actually be sacrificial type energy. I'm sacrificing quite a big part of my life to do this or to be this, but actually maybe it isn't really the truth in terms of who I am, where I'm meant to be, what I'm meant to be doing. So I think all of us could maybe think about that. And I think it's naturally coming up anyway, linked into the full moon in Libra that we've had this week, which I talked about yesterday, which was and is asking us to look at what is out of balance in our life. And the thing is, when something gets really, really out of balance, it tips into an energy of true dysfunction and can become sacrificial. So first thing to do today is just to think about that. What parts of yourself are you sacrificing that you wish to now put down? Okay. Now, this isn't the same as being of service. So an example that I've got in my head is people maybe who are having to be carers for somebody and there isn't anybody else to do it. And it is part of maybe your contract to help this particular person. And it isn't seen as a sacrifice. It's seen as something that is an act of service to another, to God. But even in that scenario, I'm asking you to think about what aspects of your being are thirsty, okay? And if there is any way for you to be bringing up that need on today, Good Friday, and saying, I wish to draw a line in the sand and move away from not being able to do this, or not being able to be that, okay? So I want you to really think about that. And that's the first message. The second message, linking into Christ, feels what he's basically saying is, he wants you to imagine if he was walking this earth right now as a physical being, okay, as a physical being, as he did 2,000 years ago, what he would not be expecting is a great gathering necessarily on this particular day to worship or to, let's just say to worship. What he would be asking us to do, given today's climate and what's going on in the world, is to get out there in society in any way that we can, even if that's online, because I appreciate people are in lockdown. But this thing about being of service to other people, walking the talk basically, just being kind, following the guidance that was given 2,000 years ago to love your neighbour as yourself, to turn the other cheek, to do as you would be done to, you know, all to speak with love, to see with the eyes of love, to forgive, you know, all of the tenets of his teaching, to really, truly practice that. And for that to actually be the greatest act of worship that we can do today, And in fact, it's the greatest act of worship we can do any day. He's saying it's almost as though there is an imbalance. And he's now showing me, the crowds that gather to worship on particular days. And although that can bring comfort and sense of community, which is good, when it tips into worship and being present at the expense of actually getting out there and helping your fellow man, that's where we're running into problems. And it's almost like that old tradition of the type of mentality where you go to church on a Sunday and you worship, you ask for forgiveness, you have your sins taken away if you're Catholic, whatever. And then you go back out into the world, and for the next 6 days of the week, you don't act as a Christian. You don't act as a Christian. You don't speak with love. You are not kind. You are judgmental. You are critical. You are the first to cast the stone, which is the thing that Christ said not to do. The one without sin, be the first to cast the stone. Well, it's like as a world, we've all forgotten that. We have been becoming more and more judgmental, and you see this on social media the whole time. So Christ's true message was to treat each other with love and respect and compassion and forgiveness. And so more than anything, the message today from him is to be that, to do that. At a time when the churches are closed, as I said yesterday, find that space within your own heart to be able to then go out, whether it is online, whether it's picking up a telephone, whether it's just chatting to your neighbour over the fence, whatever it is, and just showing some love. That's the best way that you can serve the Christ energy today and over this whole weekend. So we'll probably come back to that in a moment. Just showing my candle, which I've lit for all of us today. Matches the colour of my dress, doesn't it? It's a perfect match, actually. That's just coincidence. Although there's actually no such thing as coincidence. It's very interesting. In terms of colour therapy, when I used to see people and they used to come in to my home or wherever I was working, or indeed even if it was online, the colour that the person would turn up in would always tell you pretty much everything in terms of what was going on. So there is no such thing in terms of coincidences when you see people in particular colours over and above a uniform that you have to wear. Although actually the person that invented the uniform, there would have been a meaning behind that as well. I'm really, I know I've been saying it for years, but I'm really going to try and in this lockdown period, channel my energy that I've got, which is spare, into the colour course, which is just so wanting to burst out of me. But anyway, that's by the by. Let's get into the news of today at 8 minutes, which is appropriate, number 8, because 8 is about abundance, and 8 also links into the strength card on the tarot, which I showed you yesterday for Boris. I think most people know now that he is out of intensive care as of 8 o'clock last night, actually. I think the news came, it was interesting. The news broke at about 8 o'clock last night. And it was the time when everybody was coming out onto the streets, or a lot of people in the UK were coming out onto the streets to clap for the NHS, the National Health Service. It happens every single week, and it's growing every week. So, I mean, in our street, I would say 2/3 of the street were out with saucepans, claps, cheers, all the rest of it. It was really lovely, actually. It was very, very touching. I think next week I might bring my drum out and really shock them all. But actually, the people banging the saucepans would have been louder than my drum anyway. But it was like a real moment of celebration. Yes, a celebration. I want to say celebration because it's there to actually show respect for the people that are doing the work on the front line in terms of the people, the doctors, the nurses. But actually, it felt like a moment of relief, celebration for life, coming together, people from all ages on the street, even a couple that you don't normally see out of their houses because they're quite private, they came out. So it was really good. It was very heartwarming. But yeah, it happened just after this announcement that Boris was out of intensive care. He's still in hospital and he's still got a big road of recovery ahead of him. but I think he's now out of danger. So thank you very much, everybody on my channel that helped with that healing process, because absolutely there was another timeline that was at play there. And when I first came on and talked about Boris a few days ago, we were staring that in the face. And to be honest, I was 80–90% sure he was going to leave. So I'm thrilled. That's not a political statement. I just feel, I actually said to a friend this morning, I feel as though we may never know the full reason why we were called to do that work, but there will be a reason. And it may well be there's just one decision he makes in the future that the person who would have been there instead doesn't make. Or even if he doesn't return to frontline politics, or I suspect he will, there's something that he does, there's some role that he has going forward, which is very, very important. And his father came onto the TV today, or he made a statement in the press, and his father looks just like him. I mean, he really is. And he said, what did he say? He said that he was relieved that his son was okay. And he said, yeah, it came close to Boris taking one for the team. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to say, because what it showed me straight away was the analogy of a football match, okay? And, you know, I said to you, one thing that had really pleasantly surprised me was that people of both political extremes in the UK, not even extremes, just different political persuasions, were just able to wish this guy well and put down their political differences. And Metatron gave me the analogy of a football match where you have two opposing teams, both of whom really want to win. But if one person on one team gets injured, the whole game, for want of a better word, because to be honest, this whole life is a bit of a game. It is, ultimately. We're all actors on a stage. The whole game suffers because the one person is injured, particularly if that one person is a captain, as was the case here. So that analogy of he nearly took one for the team, I thought that's also another reason why I think a lot of people were really affected by it, because his plight felt as though it was our plight. And maybe if you're not in the UK, you can't fully appreciate what it felt like, but it was a really interesting experience over this last couple of days. I'm pleased he's on the mend. One thing I did want to say though, which I think is true, is that, without again getting too political, but the National Health Service, you could also apply this to America and the need for maybe a broad sweeping health service for the country. But here in the UK, we've had the National Health Service for years, and it's free. You know, you can have, you know, if you're ill, you just get treated, and whatever operation you need, you get treated. Yes, there's a waiting list, but it's been very underfunded for years. And certainly the Conservative Party have been criticised for that underfunding. And it struck me today that, of course, he's going to come back, and it can't not have an effect on how he maybe views the NHS. So hopefully there'll be more money pumped into it at some point. But then I also remembered that we had another Conservative leader, David Cameron, who again is on record praising the National Health Service for the care of his son who did die. He had a handicapped son. I think he was called Ivan. So it's like two leaders, and David and Boris are actually quite good friends. So I just feel there's something there. It's like there's a wake-up call linked into, sorry, that's my hamster in the background. There's a wake-up call linked into that particular party in terms of the need for universal healthcare. And maybe that ripples out, I hope it does, into other parts of the world. Must just show you this. Now, some people think this is a Banksy, but actually it's not. This is actually a lady called, this is her. She's called Rachel List. But this picture without her basically was popping up all over Facebook last night. National Health Service, and obviously the S is the Superman, you know, Superman energy, because these people are supermen and superwomen, and everyone thought it was a Banksy. Banksy is this artist who just does murals on buildings, a bit mysterious, nobody sort of knows who he really is, and they just pop up and they're worth millions. But anyway, she did this in Yorkshire just to brighten up her town, and yeah, I think that's brilliant, isn't it? Isn't that great? So I thought I'd show that to you. Because, yeah, they are the true heroes, aren't they? They are the true heroes, these doctors and nurses. Right, moving on then. What else do I want to say? Oh, final thing on Boris, because I just think it's very interesting. from a healing perspective, to those healers out there. The thing that I witnessed, what day is it today? What day is it today? It's Friday. So he recovered on, or he went out of intensive care on Thursday. So it was Wednesday night. Wednesday night, when I was telling you, I felt it was still like, ooh, this is a bit touch and go still. And actually, I said yesterday, I got the word torment coming through. There was the devil energy. It was like really bound to this disease. And I said to you, I tried to tune into his energy, and I was feeling as though I couldn't breathe myself. But then I was shown Mother Mary by his bedside. And what was so interesting about it was Mother Mary, but it was also, there were some nuns there, basically. There were some nuns. Now, I don't know who these nuns were, but they were nuns. Oh, God, I know who it was. Oh, my God. Yes. Now, I haven't verified this, but it rings true to me. Somebody says there's a link between Florence Nightingale and St Thomas's Hospital, which is where he is, or Guy's Hospital, wherever he is. He's in the hospital, the other side of the Houses of Parliament. There's a link to Florence Nightingale. And so I wonder whether, I felt it was Mother Mary, but maybe it was Florence Nightingale I saw. It doesn't really matter, because it was an archetypal female energy that was helping to heal him, and she was working very intensely on him. And my energy came towards the hospital bed in my vision, as if, do you need any help? And she actually said, no, we don't need any more. We don't need, thank you for your help. We don't need any more help now. And she was like pushing people away. Well, not pushing, that sounds, you know, aggressive. Just sort of like saying, no, we've got this now. Just leave it to us. And at that moment, I thought, oh, okay. So yeah, that Mary, Florence energy, nun energy, it's the female energy. You see, the thing is, going back to Christ, those that came to my Mary Magdalene workshop, I've only held it a couple of times, but one of the things that I say in that is that I believe that Christ was taken down from the cross and he wasn't completely dead. Okay, so that might be contentious for some. You don't have to accept it if you don't resonate with it, but you know, this is what I felt intuitively. And he was taken down from the cross. He was 95% dead, 97% dead. The point is, when he was in the tomb, what I was shown is that he was coaxed back to health by Mary Magdalene, okay, and a number of other helpers, most of whom were female, has to be said. So he was brought back to life by that divine feminine energy. And when Mary goes back to the tomb on Easter Sunday to find Christ or check on the body, I mean, of course, it wasn't the body because he was actually on his way to recovery. Her shock was the fact that he wasn't there. But it's because the healing journey was complete. So it was this miracle of the divine feminine energy coming in as healer and the divine masculine energy, which is what Christ embodied, combined. He also helped himself to heal. Anyway, that's for another day, maybe. I'll talk more on that. Spain, just quickly, 15,000 dead in Spain. So some quite interesting comments on that video I did yesterday. Thank you for that. I hadn't appreciated that there are, the government are trying to bring through financial aid in the way they are for the people, which is great. I just still a little bit worried about that Seven of Swords energy. I think it was Seven of Swords. The devious, it was like, is there enough money in the coffers for it? I don't know. We might have to look at Spain again. But anyway, sending my love to Spain. Gonna look at New York in a minute. Before we do that, let's just have a bit of good news. I haven't printed off the photograph, but there are some beautiful photographs online of the Himalayas smog-free. You can see there's some beautiful photographs of smog-free India and particularly the Himalayas. And again, those of you that have followed me a long time, do you remember we did a video, I don't know, maybe even a year ago. It was when everybody was climbing up Everest. Do you remember? Everyone was climbing up Everest and then they brought the ban on it and it was all the littering of Everest. And I was channeling through this information that the Himalayas and Everest. It was representing the lungs of the earth. I'm sure I said that. They represent the lungs of the earth, and we need to allow them to cleanse and to be able to breathe again. I think it was a video that I called Summit Fever. Actually, that feels like it's quite a good video to maybe rewatch again, because I was talking about the fact that we all have summit fever, that we're all trying to climb to the top of the summit symbolically, not necessarily Everest, but Everest was symbolic of the fact we're all trying to climb on top of each other to get to the top of the greasy pole. And, you know, society is just programmed that way. And it was like, stop, you know, we don't need to do that. We need to stop and actually smell the coffee, you know. Wake up and smell the coffee. Wake up and smell the roses. So, yeah, that was good. Right, let's have a look at New York. To be honest, I looked at the news and I was like, wow, I hadn't realised how bad it was there. I'm only looking at these countries and places on a need basis now, because obviously this virus is in, I think, 200 countries around the world. And I'm going to look at the ones where there is the greatest need. New York. There have been 7,000 fatalities in New York. There have been 160,000 cases. And I mean, this isn't a very nice picture to show you, but I'm going to show it because I want people to understand the scale of what New York are going through. This is a picture of a mass grave being dug and filled in, unfortunately, with pine caskets of people that have died. And this is on a place called HART Island. Yes, HART Island, H-A-R-T, but it's still HART Island in New York. Now this site, I'm being told, has been used for mass burials for 150 years. And it's usually been used for people who have no next of kin, or who are poor and cannot afford a proper burial or funeral, I guess, as they just put them into these mass graves. Now, because the number of deaths are so huge in New York, 7,000, they are starting to fill up this site with those that have died. Now, I mean, what a bleak picture. Over and above that, even if you covered that up, okay, this is just feels so bleak. But it's HART Island, HART Island. Again, this heart consciousness. But yet, look at it. I mean, look at that, just as a representation. So we need to look at this. I have absolutely no idea what's going to come up in this either. Let us put party political differences aside. This isn't about Donald Trump. This isn't about the mayor of New York. Is he called the mayor of New York? Cuomo, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Maybe I should find out how to pronounce his name, but maybe we will pull a card for him. Maybe I should just check what he's called. I can see him in my mind's eye, but I'll just pull that up so I can have a quick look. I'm going to pull a couple of cards on him maybe. But yeah, we need to put party politics to one side because that is beyond politics. This is just a tragedy. I'm going to pull some cards for New York. Let me just find the name of this man. New York. Do you call it mayor? No, it's not the mayor. Oh, governor. Okay, governor. Andrew Cuomo, 62. Okay. Governor, okay. Governor Cuomo. When's his birthday? I don't know why I'm being drawn to his birthday. His birthday is the 6th of December, 1957, which makes him numerologically 3, 9, 10, 19, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. He's a 31. He's a 4 energy. He's perfect for these times. Okay, let me just double check that. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Yeah, he's a 31 4. Okay. Oh, his numerology is extraordinary. Let me just tell you. You're in lockdown. Okay, you're in lockdown. 31 ties in to emerald green. Emerald green is the colour of the heart. Emerald green is linked into renewal and recovery. It's the deepest, oh my God, it's the deepest heart cleansing agent. I need to tie all this together. Okay, 31. Let me get the bottle, hold on. $31 in colour mirrors is the bottle of the Hermit. What is everybody being forced to do at the moment? They're being forced to be the hermit. Whether you like it or not, you're not allowed to go out. Or you're certainly not allowed to go out for very long, okay? This energy also talks about the need for boundaries. Lockdown is a boundary, okay? But it's the energy of the need to go within, the need to try and find the light in the darkness. The Hermit card. Emerald green in the system, my system, is this. This one is linked into the deepest healing of the heart. This was created initially in Belfast when I did a workshop years ago in Belfast. I've talked about this many times on videos, but just for those of you that don't know. And it represents where the deepest healing is needed. Belfast had this terrible history of bloodshed against each other, against communities, against communities. But yet a type of peace has come to Northern Ireland and to Belfast where this was birthed, the Emerald Isle. Of course, there's a strong link between the Emerald Island, Northern Ireland, and New York. I'm now seeing the Irish, of course, that would have gone across to America, would have arrived at New York. I'm assuming some did. So there's a link here. There's an energetic link between the Irish and the Americans. But remember, this is to do with this man, okay, Governor Cuomo. So this is his birth. This is his numerology. This is who he is. So he is rising at a time when he is the colour, it's almost like he is the colour of the lockdown. 3 and 1 make 4. 4 is the energy of Uranus, the complete planet of the unexpected. What's happening to New York, what's happening to the world. I mean, some will say, oh, well, we could have seen it coming, but nobody saw it coming quite as quickly as it has arrived in 2020. We weren't talking about this in January, not many people were. And now most of the world is shut down. So in this man's colours, Governor Cuomo, he's built for these times that we're in, basically, is what I wanted to say. He is the man for the job. He is actually where he was meant to always be. At a time when there is huge disruption of the old order, because that's what the Uranus energy is as well, disruption of the old order, and a time when boundaries are enforced, there he is. Let's pull a card for him. Governor Cuomo. The Knight of Pentacles. I think that's because he's coming through as a knight because he's obviously not the president, okay? He's a governor. He might be a very important man within New York, but he's not the president of the United States. And the knight is there to serve and is coming forward offering something, basically. And then we've got the card of strength. So he, whether you like him or whether you don't like him, he is a figure who's got enormous inner strength, and is willing to serve effectively for the greater good, for the country, for the people of New York at this time. And I'm sort of not feeling right now that there's much on his mind other than just getting this particular job done. Because this knight to me feels as though he's coming in offering this assistance. I mean, I know it's his job, but he's offering the assistance. He's doing the job to the best of his ability without any particular agenda. I'm not feeling any particular agenda. And by that, I'm talking about in his mind at the moment is not, oh, and if I do well, it's going to lead to X, Y, Z. I mean, that might well come in the future, but not right now. He's just there. He's a symbol of strength. I also feel he's a symbol of strength for the people of New York. Okay. Right, let's move on. Let's just have a look at New York. Let's have a look at New York and this virus. Why is it so bad there, Metatron? Let me just see if I can feel something before I do the cards. New York, New York. So much sorrow there over the years. I'm seeing the Statue of Liberty. I'm seeing the water that surrounds New York. The waterways of New York. Those of you that live in New York, I'm just seeing the cards. Those of you that live in New York, if you can, get out and do something ceremonial with water. Go to the water. I mean, I was on the waterways I was in Brooklyn, was it last year, 2 years ago? Times just go so quickly now. And took the water taxis. And I said at the time I had this experience with somebody who started to talk about angels. I can't remember the whole story now. But anyway, those of you that are in New York, okay, bit like I did yesterday where I went down to the sea and I just gave something to the water. I actually gave the orange oil to the water. I'm going to go back to the beach after I've done this video and put some more of this into the ocean. If you've got, if you've got, for example, the Metatron Flame attunement spray, that would be great as well. Even just a couple of drops or just the intention of it. Put your hand into the water and imagine orange energy flowing out of your hand. Or just put your hand over the water and imagine an orange ray coming down. It's to try and help absorb some of the shock. Okay, but yeah, look at these cards. So I'm just shuffling for New York. We've got the Tower on the bottom. Now, 2 weeks ago, I did a video for America. Do you remember? And we're in the 2-week period, okay? So we're in the second week, and I said the Tower was there, and there it is. Okay, now I pulled it for the whole of America. And then we've got the Fool, the New Beginning. Let's just pull that one as well. And we've got this one. But to be honest, this feels as though, do you know what I want to say? There's a tragedy happening in New York at the moment. Do the rest of the states care? I have no idea. As a question. As a question. Do the rest of the states care? It's supposed to be the United States of America. But yet, what I'm sensing here is that I'm being shown there are certain states which are just going like that. They're not bothered about this. Not in my backyard, not in my state, doesn't affect me. It's not happening here. It's happening over there. No, it's happening right in your backyard, because what is happening here, we are all connected, okay? By that, I'm not saying the same thing happens in your state. I'm saying that you should care about what's happening. If you are the United States of America, it should be that you care about what happens in any state. And I think politics has got in the way here. I'm being shown politics has got in the way for a lot of people. It's almost like, well, yeah, they vote that way. You know, they vote that New Yorkers, they're sort of a slightly different breed. They're not really part, you know, down here, that's not really the way we do it. Are you the United States of America or aren't you? I think this is what this tower moment is about. Can you come back together as a country? Can you come back as a country or not? Or are you going to become even more divided? That was effectively the message that came through in the video I did 2 weeks ago, that America was going to have this wake-up call in terms of, are you going to be able to put the divisions aside and come back together as one? See each other as one? Well, here, New York is almost like offering up its, I want to say it's guts. That's what it feels like. It's like this is gut-wrenching, what's happening there. For this new opportunity, this complete new start for the country, for this celebration energy that we are actually all one. We are the United States. I'm going to pull another from another deck now. Yeah, this deck. Let me three more cards for New York. 3 more cards for New York. The 3 of Wands and the 5 of Wands, I think that is. The 7 of Cups. Lovers, which is the card of choice on the bottom of the deck. Right. What I'm sensing for, I mean, this is the water around New York. These are the boats that want to come in. The Statue of Liberty, welcoming all. That's what she was all about, wasn't it? Five of Wands. Victory, but at what cost? Fighting. Fighting over who can come in and who can't. But yet one lone person standing there, remembering that actually this was a port that was open to all. But a lot of fighting about that, which is what we've seen played out, obviously, with the States over the last few years. 7 of Cups. What's real? What's an illusion? Choice point times. What do we wish? Let me ask it a different way. What is New York trying to teach? What is this situation in New York trying to teach? What is this situation in New York trying to teach? The 10 of Earth. The 10 of Earth, that's enough for all. That there's enough for all. They are burying these bodies in this place, which is called HART Island, where people were put who had nothing, who had no money, paupers type energy. I mean, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? It looks totally and utterly desolate. Totally and utterly desolate. Depressing. Lack. Is there any part of that energy that feels as though it's about abundance? It's just about lack. Ignore that. Just look at this. But yeah, the lesson is there's enough for all. Everybody should have the right to a good life. The forest is rich, abundant. There's enough space for all. Two of Earth. It's the same message. Two of Earth. Oh, the Elder of Water. Let's have that one as well. Two of Earth. There's a choice. There's the child who is upset and has nothing and is born into a life of poverty. And there is the child who is well fed and contented. Do we want it to carry on in this way? The father has got arms to hold both. Both children should be able to have the opportunity to be sated, to receive what they need to receive. There is enough for all. The Elder of Water knows that. Look at him. How gorgeous his spirit is. There he is on the waters of New York. I mean, to be perfectly honest, obviously I haven't been that often, but I was in Brooklyn and I also went to New York City. We stayed in two different places in Brooklyn. The first night where we stayed, Tracy and I had flown in. We were tired and I was really shocked by what I saw. We were in one of the poorer parts of Brooklyn. And I always remember there was some men just walking the street. They had bare feet. And I felt unsafe. And I felt really unsafe. And I also felt profoundly shocked in terms of what I was seeing, in terms of the need that was there, the poverty that was there. But then we went to, we changed where we were staying, and then we ended up in New York City and we were walking the streets and it felt like, oh, these are lined with gold. But yet, actually, they were only a couple of miles apart. This wise elder, he's on that boat and he knows really, truly, there's enough for everybody in the universe. There's enough for everybody there. But yet there's this division between the haves and the have-nots. And it's really interesting because now I've got the energy of the reading I did for India, where this came up. The energy of people that have got a lot and the people that have got nothing. And, we maybe think of India and we're more easily able to imagine some of the slums that are there and the complete deprivation that is there. And then you think of a country or you think of a state such as New York and you think, oh, well, New York, skyscrapers, Empire State Building. But actually, like many cities, I'm not picking on New York here. New York is actually offering us her guts. That's why I said her guts. It's like we can see the division. I think that's why these people are being buried on HART Island. Is it HART Island? Yeah, HART Island. This guy knows it's possible. These people have forgotten it. These people are just at war. Keep them out. And not just people from overseas, I'm talking about people who are already in the country. This could apply to other places, this could apply to London, this could apply to many other cities around the world. But New York, for some reason, is a great teacher. She's a great teacher. Look at this card, you see, because the Elder of Water, look there, you can see the mountain. That's almost like representative now of what I was saying about the Himalayas and Everest and the lungs of the earth, being able to breathe again, the pink sky. Love coming in. Okay, I'm just going to now just pull a few cards for New York going forward. I will say to you that you've got the right man for the job leading you. Okay, you've got the right man for the job leading you. And again, a bit like the teaching that I've put forward with regard to Boris Johnson this week, this is the time to put down your political differences. If you don't like his politics, I think he's a Democrat, but it almost doesn't matter if he's a Democrat or a Republican. He's the right man for the time for that particular place. The colours, the numerology are just extraordinary. When that guy says it's safe to go out, it'll be safe to go out, okay? He's the one that understands boundaries. He understands lockdown. He understands the necessity of these times. Listen to him. If I was a New Yorker, I would be listening to that guy. Right, New York going forward. Oh, yes. Look at that. Heart Island. Ace of Cups. 10 of Cups. Happy family once more. New Yorkers, I want to say. But, you know, I don't know what you call Brooklyn people. Are you called New Yorkers as well? I don't know. You're all one. It doesn't matter that you live over the bridge. You're all one. Okay? This is almost like the John Lennon energy coming through now. You know, I did a meditation with John Lennon. And he wanted us all to sit round a circle in Central Park. It's worth rewatching that video, actually. Okay, well, that's looking good. So that's going forward, though. Yeah, 2 of Cups. It's a big heart opening for New York. A big heart opening for New York. Okay, what I'm being shown now is this heart activation and upgrade. It's happening first in New York City. In the same way that many other countries around the world, there are particular pockets, there are particular places where it's happening first. And it's also to do with what I was saying at the beginning, other states opening up their hearts to New York, forgetting that New York vote a certain way or New Yorkers are a certain way. New Yorkers are just American. They're just human beings. Okay, let's get past all of that nonsense. Open your heart up to New York because you're all one family. You're all the USA, but it feels to me as though New York is leading the way for America. Okay. I've probably got myself into enough trouble, so I'm not going to say any more on that. Some people won't like that message, but it is what it is. Okay, it's what comes out. Yeah, okay, the Lovers again came through. Time to stop the fighting. It's time to stop the fighting. Oh, the Big Apple. The Lovers. There's the Big Apple. Choice point. Mountain. Justice. Scales. Balance. The Big Apple. I'm wanting to say how the rest of America responds to New York is a test. How the leadership responds to what is happening in New York is a test. It's also an opportunity. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Let's just pull a final card for everybody else for the Easter weekend. Just need to have some water. Oh, I don't know why this bottle leaks. Hold on. Let's have a spray of the emerald green. Beautiful. And let's have now a spray of the Christ energy. So we have the deepest healing for the heart and the energy of Christ. Let's have a card from the Metatron deck. Review and reflection. And love. The energy of love. Self-love. This Easter weekend is a time for review and reflection. And it's a time for self-nurturing and love. This scallop shell is also linked into the energy of Mary Magdalene. The initial painting I had done for Mary Magdalene involved I don't think I've got it to hand to show you. Is it over there? Don't think it is. I'll just go and see if it's over there. Hold on. No. Well, the painting isn't, but what we did with it is, this was the original painting that we had for the Mary Magdalene energy. So, review and reflection, self-nurturing. We're still in the post-full Libra moon energy. It's going to go on for a little while. It was a big supermoon, that one. Last night here, it was still beautiful and pink and looked pretty much full. Let's just spray Mary Magdalene as well. And let's send the Mary Magdalene energy to New York and to all people around the world, all countries that are suffering. Namaste. See you again soon. Bye for now. Love to everybody. Bye.